I would thump her with a Bible. After I said all of this, that's the first comment you want to say. Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is going to be disappointing dads. So we have two stories. They both have updates. All of the links will be included in the description. Also, FYI, I did post a video yesterday. It was just really late. So if you missed yesterday's upload, there was one. I uploaded it at night because I didn't plan accordingly. So just wanted to shout that out in case you missed it, and let's get into the video. The first story says, am I the a-hole for telling my father's girlfriend that the more she talks about Jesus, the less she will see my child? For context, I, 26 female, come from a Catholic family, but my parents decided not to raise me and my siblings as such. My father, due to a crisis of faith he had years ago, and my mother because she hated practicing it. We were all baptized for our grandparents' sakes, but nothing beyond that. We never prayed, didn't have any first communions, and didn't read the Bible. I didn't even set foot in a church until I was 14. I'm very grateful for that upbringing. Today, I'm agnostic and I don't have a great relationship with the church. My husband's family is also Catholic, but he doesn't practice it. Our first child was born earlier this month, and we decided to raise him without religion. Neither of our extended families cared much, but we've been having some trouble with a few people over it. My father has been dating a Christian woman for 6 years. I'll admit I don't like her, but I don't dislike her either. Before I got pregnant, she wasn't the preachy type, to me at least. She wasn't happy when I told her I was agnostic, but didn't try to change my mind. She did talk about her religion a lot and kept trying to get my father to engage with it frequently, but not much beyond that. Soon after I announced my pregnancy, my husband and I had dinner with my father and his girlfriend, during which she told us she knew the perfect place for the baptism. See, she was already doing a little much by kind of like trying to impose her religion on someone else, but to try and impose your religion on someone's child who's defenseless, like the parents have every right. I grew up Christian. I consider myself a Christian, but I don't think that if parents don't want their kids raised Christian, that it should be forced on them, especially by an outside source. Like, man, you just got here. You barely like in the family for real. To be making these kinds of claims is crazy. The baptism, as if it was just already set in stone that it was going to happen. OP continues, we said we weren't planning on baptizing our baby. And from that moment, she got annoyingly preachy to me and my husband. It was mostly indirect stuff, such as giving the whole family speeches about how glad she was to have Jesus in her life, but some were impossible to mask as unrelated. She gave me a decorative cross for the nursery on my baby shower, tried to make us all say grace during Christmas dinner, which we've never done before with or without her, and kept bringing up a priest friend of hers who just so happened to also do baptisms. My husband and I stood by our decision. Fast forward to now, our baby was born a couple of weeks early. He was pretty much full term, but we were all still worried. He's perfectly healthy and we're all doing well. Yesterday, my father and his girlfriend came over to see the baby. While I was telling them about my labor and how it was at the hospital, she told me she had been praying for us the whole time and that we should all praise Jesus for giving us such beautiful blessings as my son. At this point, what this lady is doing is just plain disrespectful. Imagine if the roles were reversed and this person worshiped like the devil. And they really strongly held these beliefs, and they were going to a Christian family and were like, we should praise Satan because he's all whatever. Like, it's the same thing. If someone says they don't participate in a certain activity, you should not be trying to force that onto them. And do you think that approach really is going to work? Do you think that the more that you say, oh, you should do this. Oh, praise Jesus. Oh, I just love being a Christian. Oh, I know this great priest that can baptize. Do you really think the more and more and more that you pester these people about your religion, that is really gonna just somehow convert them one day? One day they just gonna wake up and be like, you know what? She's really annoying, but maybe she's right. You would honestly do better in your approach by just living a good life, like just living your life normally. Anyway, OP said, unrelated to her previous preachiness or not, I lost whatever patience I had. I said, you know what? I'm done. The more you talk about Jesus and religion and whatever, the less you'll see my child. She was quiet the rest of the visit. After they left, my father called me. He told me he understood I was frustrated, but I shouldn't have been so rude to his girlfriend. He told me her intentions were pure and she was only behaving like this because of how important religion was to her. I don't think I'm in the wrong for my feelings, but I am worried I was too rude. Am I the a-hole? I don't think so, because you're literally just matching her energy. If she wants to be overbearing and push something down your throat, you have the right to respond. Top comment said, not the a-hole, maybe remind your dad what's important to you. She can have her faith, but when she starts pushing that on others, that's her crossing boundaries. OP replied, my father tends to humor her when it comes to these things, which kind of surprises me because she pushes her faith onto him more than onto us. I'm obviously okay with him doing that for himself, but not when it extends to me and my siblings. Someone else said, you're the a-hole whether you are religious or not. For most people who do have a relationship with God, praying for somebody is them showing love. Your baby could have had complications and she prayed for him because that was the most she could do to help the baby. It's kind of bogus that you can't see her trying to show love only because you don't like the way she did it. That's weird. I completely disagree. And that comment was heavily downvoted. There's ways that you can show love and show that you were thinking about the baby or hoping, things would turn out right without inputting a topic that that the person you're aiming it at has already told you that they just don't care for. So why would you include that? Opie responded, I have no problem with her praying for my child, but that is something she can do without announcing it or expecting us to do the same, especially when talking to a family she knows full well is not religious. Update. She said, hey folks, update time. This might get a little long. I showed my post along with your comments and replies to my husband. He told me he agreed I had been rude to my father's girlfriend, but thought she had pushed me to the point in which I had no other choice. He was actually surprised I lasted so long without saying anything. For the record, I'm not opposed to religion or to Catholicism. I have religious friends, I've seen Godspell, and I've visited churches without catching fire. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been to was the Metropolitan Cathedral in Brasilia. I've managed to endure preachiness for short periods of time. I'm just not religious. There are many reasons why I don't have a good relationship with the church, most of which I'm not comfortable sharing. I will say that I have been agnostic since I was a teenager, and people have been trying to tell me I'm wrong and I need to be Christian or Catholic for longer than that. I also live in a very religious country, which never helped my case. I have always loathed people who obsessively preach about their faith to others. I find it incredibly disrespectful and hypocritical. I wouldn't run around telling people what I think as an agnostic, and I expect my acquaintances to do the same. Sometimes you need to be an a-hole to get your point across. I wish I'd understood that sooner. I think I downplayed how stressful it was to deal with my father's girlfriend's behavior during my pregnancy. Everything happened a lot quicker than I expected. On Monday, my older brother informed me our father and his girlfriend had told him about what happened, apparently expecting him to take their side. He took mine, and they ended up having a short fight. I decided to sort this out with my father before it also extended to my sister. A couple of days ago, my husband and I called my father and his girlfriend to talk about the subject. I told her that as much as I appreciate how much she seems to care about our son, both me and my husband are uncomfortable with the way she's been trying to push her faith onto our family. We don't want to raise our son, as well as any other kids we have in the future, with religion, and we expect the people who will be a part of his life to respect that. I told her that moving forward, we wouldn't accept any religious gifts, crosses, Virgin Mary figurines, etc., wouldn't entertain any attempts to make us pray or say grace, and would shut down any speeches about accepting Jesus into our hearts. My husband counted 7 in December alone. No more hinting that we should baptize our child either. She is free to pray for us if she wants, but we don't want to know about it. We will respect her faith as long as she respects our boundaries. She remained quiet while I said all of this. When I finished, she asked, "Can't you at least put the cross I gave you in his room?" Bruh, I would thump her with a Bible. After I said all of this, that's the first comment you want to say after I just said all of this? Oh my goodness. OP said, "Not gonna lie, that was one of the most frustrating things I'd heard someone say to me in a while. My husband nearly lost his patience." I replied with, "This is exactly what we're talking about. No, the answer has always been no and will always be no. And if you keep refusing to accept that, we will restrict your access to our son. It's that simple." We didn't talk much after that. She apologized and we said we forgave her. Then we said our goodbyes. Later that day, my sister went to their place and she said my father's girlfriend was very quiet and seemed upset. My father called me on his own yesterday and we talked a little more about this. He did try to defend his girlfriend a bit, and if I had a coin for every time he said, "It's just how she is," I'd be very rich. But he mostly focused on apologizing to me. I accepted it. His girlfriend also texted me with another apology. She sounded more sincere this time. I told her I don't want her to think I'm doing this out of disrespect for her religion. I simply don't share her beliefs. She told me she understood. And this is it. I don't think this is over, but I feel like I've wasted more than enough energy for now. Part of me is still hopeful this will die its own death unless my father's girlfriend tries holy waterboarding me sometime soon. I won't update again. My son is happy, healthy, and loved. That's all I care about right now. Thank you guys. I wish you all well. That is so annoying. That is just so annoying. Okay, there's no other update, so I'll go to the next one. It says, "Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancee when he prioritized her surgery over mine? I, 17 female, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiance, and they later had a kid, 6 female. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, wait, she's 17. They divorced when she was 11 after he went to rehab. During rehab, he met the fiance, and they have a 6-year-old. So basically, immediately once they met, they got pregnant. Because they divorced at 11 and have a kid that's 6. 11 plus 6 is 17. And OP is 17. He living fast and loose, child. She said, "Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show." That is so sad. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis and initially surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse and I was finally scheduled for surgery on November 20th of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. This is sad. But later he texted to say he'd planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. A vacation, bruh? She said it broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope. But then, just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiance's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more, and that message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. I'm so sorry, OP. This is so sad. And honestly, he really could have swung both surgeries, especially if hers was a few hours before. She would have been done with the surgery and in recovery, probably already at home by the time he could have just drove 30 minutes, been there for your surgery and then your recovery. He really could have made both, realistically. She said, after sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love, but about showing care, and that he'd even given me hope, only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiance's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show he was my dad through his actions, not his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he'd told me. But because he's lied in the past, to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. She said, I then sent a follow-up message clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiance, it was his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I'd prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but man, I really don't, I hate to say it, but I don't have high hopes for him making any positive change. I mean, there's a lot of flaws as it relates to how he chooses to operate in the world, and unfortunately, I really just don't see him changing. This is just a really sad situation, child. So some of the comments, someone said, girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life. What makes you think he is going to do it now? And furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father. He is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will, no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. Sheesh, that was a little harsh, wasn't it? I mean, dang. I feel like they could have sprinkled a little sugar on top of it or something, but I mean, I guess maybe it's what she needed here. OP said, thank you, I will. Someone else said, yes, OP, I'm sure you'll find someone who will love you more than anyone else and will prioritize you. Don't waste your time on this dirtbag. He's not a father, he's just a sperm donor. And if it helps, I will be praying for you. I hope you have a successful surgery and a quick recovery. Hugs from your Reddit sister. Another person said, lung cancer surgery for fiance, Trump's daughter who still has mom, scoliosis surgery. But otherwise, from what you've said about his reliability, not the a-hole. Maybe send fiance a note wishing her luck, and if it was a lie, crap will hit the fan. And best wishes to you for a speedy recovery. again, I feel like he realistically could have made both, especially given that the fiancé surgery was a few hours before. Given what I know about cancer treatment, I guess it depends on how far, like what stage she's at. But given what I know, typically you do a round of chemo and then you have the surgery and then you do another round of chemo. So they would have had some idea as to when her surgery was going to be, even if they didn't know like specifically. But I do agree with him that it might have actually gotten scheduled just like that prior week before, because I have seen that. But again, I think he could have made both. Someone replied to that, no way. If I had to choose between my daughter and husband, I would 100% choose my daughter. Why? My husband is an adult. Me being at the hospital while he had surgery would not change the outcome of the surgery, so the severity does not matter. Both surgeries could go wrong. If I had to choose whose smile I would see for the last time, it's my daughter's. I love my husband very much. He is the love of my life, but it cannot be compared to how I feel about my daughter. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my husband? I don't know. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my daughter's life? Yes, without any doubt. Just let me know where to sign, and it's done. I mean, I ain't got no kids, so I really couldn't tell you. I feel like, say there was a situation where the surgeries were at the same time, I feel like I would go be with the daughter. One, because he's not married to the fiance yet, so she doesn't, like, I don't know, just like the hierarchy in my head, it just makes sense to me. And then two, she's a minor still, so she's probably like nervous and scared. And does the fiance not have her parents that can be there for her, you know? Or any other family or friends that can be there for her? And he can like check in on her remotely while he's also with his daughter, who he never has ever shown up for in her entire life. If it were me, I would probably be with my child, especially if I'm not married to the person. Hopefully they would understand. And, you know, I would get there as soon as I could, try to juggle it as best as I could. Someone says, super crappy to think about, but OP had a parent present that would be able to make decisions should they be needed. Fiance, presumably, has OP's dad as her decision maker should that be needed. The decision maker needs to be present if at all possible. So again, they're not married yet. So he actually is not a decision maker. Her parents technically are the decision makers because they aren't married. So again, the parents need to be with the child. The fiance's parents need to be with her. OP's parents need to be with her. If they were married, maybe that would be a little bit different, but I disagree with that person's comment. But they said also, dad is awful for prioritizing a vacation over his kid's surgery. However, if he's the decision maker for his partner with cancer, that surgery needs to be prioritized and he needs to be present. Yeah, that's a tough situation because I've been in a situation where I know, I'll just say I have a lot of experience in a situation like this. So it is tough. I know that it is tough. Update 3 months later. Hey guys, been a while. Thanks for your love. I've been dragging my feet on an update, but here it is. Surgery recovery has been great. I've been in therapy since 12, so my therapist knows everything about my dad. Can I just say it's weird seeing my story posted on other apps with Subway surfers and woodwork. Love that people think my dad is a sperm donor and not a dad across all platforms. Senior night is on Valentine's Day, which I've told him weeks in advance, saying games start at 7 usually, but I would get at the school 30 minutes early since we will probably do it before the game. I texted his mom, Mima, to ask him if he was going, and he texted her, "Oh, I never got a date. She doesn't tell me anything." BS. I told her I'll go no contact if he doesn't go, and I will go low contact if he does go. He can freaking ask and write it in his calendar. I told my mom to stop staying neutral and tell me why he acts like this. The relationship is almost ruined, so there is no point in her trying to save it. He likes to play victim, trying to make it sound like my mom doesn't want him around, uses it as an excuse to make him look like a good guy. He's a certified deadbeat. I've seen text messages when I was younger of my mom trying to get my dad to make an effort. I showed her the first post, so I'll send her this one too. Hi, Mom. The Kindle had screenshots of some convos. I love you. I saw them in August when I found it, so I knew for a while. I see my mom in a new light now. She will be walking me down the aisle and my first dance. She sacrificed so much of herself for me. She is not only my mom, but my dad. That's so unfortunate. For non-Americans, senior night usually involves seniors and chosen people to walk them across the floor. My dad walked me down for my fall senior night, but he will not be one of my people this Friday. I am desperate to keep contact with my sister. I know Mima will help me with that. I know that if fiance and dad break up, he will do the same thing to my sister. Friday came and went. My dad got pissy when he realized I didn't want him to walk me across the gym floor. He, along with Mima and my sister, left during halftime. Oh gosh. We did the walk before the varsity game and pep band. Oh, she said we did the walk before the varsity game and pep band can't leave the stands until third quarter, same as marching band. Plus, Mima has been to previous basketball games along with football games. So I guess that's why they left early, because there wasn't really a reason for them to stay. She said, I left Dad a long voicemail and message Friday for leaving, especially since my sister begged to see me and he refused her. Oh, so they weren't supposed to leave early. Wait, that part confused me. I don't know. I guess I don't really understand what she was saying there, but they weren't supposed to leave. So she said, I told Mima I was disappointed she left when she knew what happens at games. Monday, I finally sent him boundaries and blocked him. I know I'm going to cry later. This is going to be hard for me. Thanks for your support. It means a lot to me throughout this journey. So a couple comments. Someone said, hi, I'm 30 years in the future. He doesn't change. For your own well-being, move on with your life without him in it. That's sad. Another person said, hi, I'm 30 now. I can say the same thing. He won't change. He'll call you once, maybe twice a year when it's convenient for him, maybe send gifts that show how much he doesn't know who you are and what interests you, maybe not, send you the occasional pity party call or text, call me, we don't talk enough, etc. Honestly, it's easier if he just forgets you exist and doesn't reach out at all. Easier to not get hopes up. Your mom did the same thing mine did. He doesn't see who he's missing out on knowing, watching you grow, learn, and succeed in life, or being there to support you when you fall. It's not worth the heartache trying to chase what isn't there. I mean, it's harsh. It's a harsh thing to come to the realization of, but yeah. It would be better for her to just basically like forget about him and stop trying to make it work versus this whole back and forth push and pull thing that it just really is never going to work. So that's the last main read of today. The Palate Cleanser is about dads. It is from the Spread Smile subreddit, and the title of the post is When Your Dad is the Principal. So for anyone not watching, it's a graduation ceremony, and there's a gentleman on the stage in a black robe. He's obviously the principal of the school, and then a young man is walking up with his blue graduation robe and his cap, and he walks up to the guy. The guy gives him his diploma, as they do in graduation ceremonies, and then he takes a selfie with him because turns out the guy is the principal, but he's also the student's dad. And it was just a cute little moment, I thought. Here we go. Loud. He pulls out his phone. Takes a selfie. And then moves his tassel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.